So a question about car insurance. Why does it go down?
Shouldn't it? I'm not having access.
It's one for you, Karina.
Why isn't it going down?
You mean your personal car insurance doesn't go down?
No.
Well, only your insurance company could answer it. In principle, in European countries that have the bonus-malus system implemented, you will see in your policy these rules that I just showed you. Well, I can give another. The other answer is that as time passes, so we are growing older. So as we grow older, we have a...
She might be calling you old.
She wouldn't be far wrong.
I was trying not to say that. As we grow old, we enter a new risk group.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I have a question about ants.
About ants, okay.
What will happen if sort of invasive species of ants are introduced to an environment? I'm from Hawaii, and we have invasive ant species from the mainland. So, like, what are they doing? What do they do? What effect do they have?
They have lots of really bad effects. I can turn into a whole talk about invasive ants.
Can you use the mic, please? Can you repeat the question?
The question was, if we have invasive ants that are introduced to places, what effect does that have? And have really bad effects. So there's a very famous example from Christmas Island. So Christmas Island is renowned for its red crabs. And there's an ant called the yellow crazy ant that was introduced. It is yellow and it runs around like crazy, so it's quite a good name. And so what happened is the yellow crazy ants decimated the crab populations. Crab populations are really healthy, but they're a really good food source for the ants. And so they killed a lot of the crabs. Crab population went down. When the crab population declined, that sort of opened the door to another invasive species that had been introduced, the African land snail. It started taking over other areas of the island. Because the crab population had been reduced, it usually kept the forest floor quite cleared of seedlings, but because the crab wasn't there, it wasn't able to do that, so then the whole forest structure changed on the island. So from a clear forest floor, now it's got big trees growing up everywhere. The yellow crazy ant, the introduced ant, has got a mutualistic relationship with scale insects. So I was talking about Hemiptera. So it's got a relationship with these ants, with the scale insects, so it tends the scale insects. But there's so many ants tending it that the scale insects were overproducing this honeydew for the ants, and the ants couldn't even eat it all. And so then it was dropping onto the leaves on the trees. And then then the next part of the story is that the leaves were then covered in this honeydew solution and then started growing sooty mold all over them, and then the leaves couldn't photosynthesize properly, and then the forest started dying. So this is all just from the introduction of this ant. And so, yeah, basically have really bad effects wherever they're introduced.
So, if you talk about ants, what kind of treatment do you use that makes some parts of the jungle make antless? And did it affect any other species?
So I use magic. Yeah. No, that's a really good question, and I skipped over it because it would take too long, but essentially we use toxic baits. So what we do is we've got these tiny little granules that are made specifically by the people that want to get rid of invasive ants. So little granules, and you go around scattering them as if you're feeding chickens in the forest, and then the ants who are out foraging will find them and then take them back to the nest and eat them and then die. So the two things, the baits are really specific. Nothing else is going to come and take them, and the ants will take them extremely quickly. And secondly, any toxin that's left in it would degrade. And then we've had a look at if there had been any negative detrimental effects of the poison. So did other things start declining when we poisoned? And basically, no. They're really specific to the ants, thankfully. But good question.
Yeah, question over there. Question about viruses. With the impending disaster of antibiotics, instead of focusing on producing new antivirals instead?
We have had not a lot of luck with antivirals. So antibiotics target a growing cell that has completely different processes from our own cells. So you can make selective target toxins that hit bacteria. It's very hard to control a virus that is infecting our own cells because we don't want to damage them. However, there is also a lot of work going on using bacterial viruses to kill off bacteria specifically. So there's a process called phage therapy. A phage is a shortened word for bacteriophage, which means eater of bacteria. That's what bacterial viruses are called. And this can be used to treat bacterial infections. And there have been a lot of trials going on using these viruses. In fact, I've organized an international conference that's going to be held here in Liverpool this summer, just covering this. So there are a lot of trials coming out in Europe right now to use viruses productively.
Okay, we've got time for just two more. Yes. Yeah, but
I'm not sure I got
Really?
all of that.
it's quite a long question. That I don't think I can remember it off by heart.
So let me see if I understand this. Are there any strategies using viruses? So do you have to manipulate a virus to be able to use it therapeutically? Is that your question? The answer to that is no, you do not. So the bacterial viruses are sort of split into two different groups. Some that are like the Shiga toxin phage or Shiga toxin encoding virus I talked about, but other viruses are particularly and strictly lytic. And anytime they infect a cell, that cell is absolutely, beyond a shadow of a doubt, going to burst. The beauty of using viruses is that they have been evolving with the bacterial cells since the beginning of time. And unlike an antibiotic, which is a chemical and can't change itself, the virus is a growing population that grows with the pathogen. And so it can alter as the bacteria alters to counter resistance. But these are not engineered viruses. These are naturally occurring.
Okay, one quick question. Yes. Okay, the transistors.
Well, from 2018, there will be shift from silicon to another, they call it 3.5 and germanium, but the platform will be still silicon. You know, there will be lots of coming devices as a platform silicon. And of course, there are lots of other devices that are organic and, you know, trying to develop, but nothing is as sophisticated as what our microchips are.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like you to all welcome you to the back and have some more mince pies and drink if you can fit it in. So I'd like you to join me in thanking all of our speakers tonight.